Alternatives. Today I'm just going to do a short New Year's review on Led Zeppelin 1977 tour of America. You may have noticed I've started to put up some of the clips from Year of the Dragon, and thank you so much for watching them. I've got heaps more to come, heaps more ideas. I just thought I'd just jump in and share a few thoughts, or my thoughts on the tour. Everyone has their different opinion. Just because it's, by the way, just because it's my opinion doesn't mean it's right, okay? You guys have your own opinion about the tour. The band probably has their own opinion about it. So I remember reading about Peter Grant. Apparently Led Zeppelin, that's the band's manager, for those of you who don't know. Peter Grant said to Led Zeppelin, because they just brought out the Presence album, and Robert Plant and his family were in a really bad car crash before they recorded Presence, and I think Jimmy Page's daughter was actually in the car as well, and it's almost like, you know, they nearly, or literally died in this car crash. And Rob Plant's wife was fractured skull, and Robert Plant had a broken ankle, and Rob Plant was actually in a wheelchair when they did the Presence album. So in my opinion, that's where Pagey had to step up. And I know some people might think that, you know, Pagey did all the overdubs in 24 hours on Presence and there wasn't much variety, but there are some keyboard tracks on that didn't make the final cut of Presence, like the song called 10 Ribs and Carrot Pod song. I know it's a weird title, but I think I got that right. And I think it's a solid album, but you just got to remember, Rob Plant was literally in a wheelchair singing Achilles' Last Stand, and that's what the song means. Achilles is in your Achilles hand, your Achilles heel. You know, Rob Plant couldn't stand up. And apparently, as I said, Peter Grant said to the band, well, you've got to get out on tour. That's what a band does. You support the album. Now the album's out, you got to go out on tour. And you can imagine Zeppelin, they're like, well, you know, Robert Plant can hardly walk, and Pagey and Bonzo were partying pretty hard, as you do in the 70s. And apparently they said to Peter Grant, you know, we're not exactly in, you know, the best shape, you know, we're not running on all cylinders to go out there and tour. And Peter Grant, I read in a book that apparently Peter Grant said, well, look, you're the best band in the world. Just even if you're not, you know, running on all cylinders, you're still the best band in the world. So isn't that interesting? An interesting look at that 77 tour, that they were one of the greatest rock shows ever, and they, you know, went out and do these 3-hour shows. So that's why they brought in having the acoustic set where they'd sit down on the stool so Rob Plant could rest his leg. And yeah, I think it was just a really long tour as well, as far as I know for them. Apparently they just before John Bonham sadly passed away and they were going to return to America in 1980 tour, the tickets were all sold and everything, but there was going to be, I think there's some t-shirts out that says Led Zeppelin 1980 tour part 1 or something like that. You can correct me nicely in the comments, I don't mind, but as far as I know, so what they wanted to do is have shorter tours. So the next 1980s tour, the one that ended up getting cancelled when the band broke up, or were forced to break up, that was actually they're going to do it, you know, tour America in parts. It's actually, you know, a massive place. You know, so here in Australia, the whole Australian population would easily fit just in the state of California. So imagine how big America is to tour. So yeah, I just think there were some great highlights on that tour though. If you listen to, I've got a few of them I'm going to release soon, but there's one called Celebration of a King, which is an audio of 1977. Highly recommend that one. And some of the songs I liked on that tour that they played live was some of their best versions of it, like 10 Years Gone in 1977, for example, and just certain other songs. But you imagine a band isn't going to play 10 out of 10 every night, you know, so there are some high points and lower points, and some people have coined the phrase for Led Zeppelin live as they are tight but loose, and I love that they're playing together, they're tight but they're loose, and that's how a band should be in my opinion. But I think, in my humble opinion, the 77 tour was actually maybe loose but loose, you know. But there's a bit of tight stuff there, but, you know, maybe John Paul Jones, he sort of stepped up his keyboard work, and Jonesy on that tour, he's playing a 3-neck guitar, double bass, normal bass, keyboard, grand piano. So yeah, Jonesy really had to step up. I think from that point on, as far as I know, John Paul Jones had to start stepping in to a more of a role of steering the band live in particular, and extending those songs instead of doing long songs like Dazed and Confused, which Pagey couldn't stand there and not tap the tambourine. That was Stairway to Heaven. But you know, Rob Plant just couldn't stand there around while the band were jamming on Dazed and Confused for 30 minutes. So what they did was they made some other songs the longer ones, the extended ones, like No Quarter, and Pagey introduced a new guitar solo with his bow, and of course John Bonham did Moby Dick. So I think there were some really good parts of that tour. I know there's some sort of bad stuff went on, and I think Peter Grant's son got knocked around by a security guard, so Bonzo and some of Peter Grant's men, and I think Peter Grant himself maybe, like, took this security guard into a caravan or into a van and took care of him and charged him with laid. So some people say there's, you know, some bad omens about the tour. I don't know about that, but yeah, it didn't start off on the right foot with Robert Plant having a car accident before they did the album and before they did the tour. But they still did it. I just think it's still a great tour. It's still Led Zeppelin. So if you see any of these clips on my site or other sites of 77 tour, just remember that, you know, there is a bit of a background to it. And then I think during that tour, if I remember correctly, when they were in New Orleans, I think in 77, Rob Plant got a call that his son was really sick. And then they said, you know, no need to race home. You know, it's just an infection or something. But next thing they got a call that Rob Plant's son, you know, passed away as well. So they just cancelled the rest of the 77 tour, and John Bonham went back to England with Robert Plant. So, you know, there was, you know, they were going through some stuff. We've got to remember too, you know, these guys, although, you know, you have sort of John Bonham, the best drummer ever. These are my opinions, by the way. John Bonham, the best drummer ever. Jimmy Page, one of the best guitarists ever, and songwriters and producers. Robert Plant, one of the best, highest singing vocal ranges and most emotive singers ever. And then you have John Paul Jones, one of the best everythingists ever. You know, John Paul Jones was the best at whatever he picked up. You know, you should listen to in 10 Years Gone live in 77 when John Paul Jones is playing the 12-string rhythm part to 10 Years Gone. That really is awesome. So thanks for joining us today. I just thought I'd just give you a little quick glimpse and a perspective on the 1977 tour, and yeah, I just hope you enjoy the clips that are coming up soon. This is Boogie Mama Riffs, and we're going to bring something awesome next time. See you later.